Alright, it's been a little while since I updated. It's March 3rd. It's been, shit, I don't even know when the last video was, but here's where I'm at. I got all this wiring ready to be loomed. It's all like I removed everything that's not needed, that's not used, cleaned it up a bit, fixed all the cuts and stuff. That's done. Got the engine harness completed. It's back in the car. It's ready to be attached to the engine. Right now I'm working on getting the engine together. So I was gonna send this to a machine shop and have it done right, but watched a few videos on YouTube. I think I'm gonna just try to resurface this at home. Same with the block. I got my new bearings here. I got the rings in the car. I'm just waiting on some gaskets, but I think we can get this head cleaned up and the bottom end taken care of it. Just did a quick little AutoZone / advanced auto parts run, and we got some materials to help us clean up the cylinder head a lot better. So what I got is a valve grinding tool and the compound for it, so that we can clean up the seats on these I'll flip this over just now. I got a spring compressor tool so we can remove the valves and change out the valve seals. Got some new stones for my honing thing so we can clean the cylinders a lot better. Got a brush so we can actually get into here and actually clean this head properly. So yeah, here's like the before of the head before I clean it. It's real gunky, real nasty in there. I removed all the shims and everything. They're all sitting right here, separated, whatever. And then went to Home Depot. We got a nice flat smooth tile, and we got some 120 grit and some 60 grit sandpaper, so as well as 220 and 320. What we're gonna do with this is we're gonna surface the bottom of this head and maybe the top of the block, the deck of the block, to get a perfect seal without having to go to a machine shop. I'm gonna obviously check it with a straight edge using my feeler gauge, maybe a light, and see if we have any low spots or whatever, but you know, budget build. Let's get it. Alright, so here's where I'm at. I've got the first intake valve here. Got a little bit of oil on the shaft. So it slides nicely into there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this valve grinding compound that I got from Advanced Auto Parts. And I'm going to start cleaning up the seat on this. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a little rusty, a little crusty. And a few of these, I did a little water test where I put it on its side. I filled it with water. I filmed it on my phone. I'm not sure if the video was good, and a few of these were leaking, so I'm just gonna go through all of them and clean them up. Then I can start putting everything back together. So here's like a before shot of everything. There's all the springs, all the valves, cams, head bolts, everything. And then I got my pistons cleaned up. Just gotta do a little bit more cleaning on those. I got my new valve stem seals, gaskets, head gasket, and then I'm gonna resurface the head with this sandpaper and this tile. I'll show you that just now. Alright, so I got the compound on the bottom of the valve, as you can see. Sliding it in the hole, and alright, so I'm just gonna put the camera down and do this better, but I'm going to essentially do that same thing to all of these a little bit faster, and then we'll get to surfacing this head. Alright, so I got my first valve grinded. I don't know how well you can see that, but this is the after. And then let's just pick up a random one to show you a comparison. This is how it started essentially. So, boom. That's the cylinder. It's after, before. So, just go through all of them and do that again. Alright, so I got all my valves polished, grinded, whatever you want to call it. All the exhaust ones are cleaned up. All the intake ones are clean. So the head's looking so far. Now I'm going to set up my sandpaper and start decking this. So what I got here is some 3M 220 grit sandpaper, wet and dry. And I'm gluing it to this tile using some, what is it? This is some 3M Super 77 spray adhesive. So what I'm doing is I'm just lining these up essentially. Let's see. Something like that. You want to avoid a gap. So I'll call that good enough. Then that's glued down. Last one. Alright, so here's what we got. So I'm going to take this, well, I'm going to take the head and slide it on this tile. And use some WD-40 as lubrication, and we'll see what we get. Alright, got my cylinder head all cleaned up. Got the bottom of it all resurfaced and good enough for where we're going. So now it's time to reassemble this head. So got all my valves and all my springs here. Everything's numbered and labeled. So I got this tool here. This is not the right tool for this job, but I kind of modified it. I cut up my socket and turned a one-person tool into a two-man tool, but it works. So get my brother out here. We'll start getting these valves in. Alright, so these are the new valve stem seals for the intake side. The gasket kit I bought only came with the smaller size, so the intake side uses smaller valve stem seals than the exhaust side. And I got two different sets of gaskets for the DE and the DT, and none of them have, it's all the same, so we're only going to change out the intake side. And these just press on pretty much with your finger. Nothing crazy. Could use a little bit of lube. And so I got all the valves cleaned up and I started reinstalling them. But the tool I've been using sucked. This was the wrong tool. I modified it to try to make it work. It did not work. Where's the other tool? I also bought this clamp thing. This also does not work. I tried this other method I saw on YouTube with some bullshit. Obviously that didn't work. So now we're making another tool, which I'm hopeful that will work. So I'm going to take this angle iron, drill some holes in it, bolt it onto the head there. Then we're going to have this piece welded onto there. Then this rod is going to go across to another one, obviously on this side. And then I'm going to make an arm with a pivot that should press, you'll see. Alright, so I got both my brackets tacked up. Now I'm just going to weld it up and then I'll bolt it onto the engine and show you how it works. Alright, so I got my tool all bolted up. I got my pin slid through. So now, with this arm here I made, this hooks onto here like so. Then you take it. Something like that. So now, with this in position like this, I'm able to use leverage from way out here to actually compress the spring. I don't know if you can see that, but And then we just pop the spring out with this. There you go. Alright, so I got my head all refreshed. So to get this all refreshed and ready to go. It's completely ready to be bolted back onto the block. So right now, what I'm working on is I got my brand new OEM rings. Here's your part number. So I got first ring, got our second ring, and we got our oil rings. So what I'm gonna do now is start gapping my rings. I've got my feeler gauge. I've got the tolerances on my phone. I'll show you that just now. But I got my pistons laid out. I've got everything organized, so we can do this properly one time. And I got my bearings somewhere. These are the bearings I decided to go with. So you can ACL race bearings. So. Alright, so I got all my new rings laid out here. So we got the top, second, and oil rings, 1, 2, 3, 4. Got the pistons laid out in order. So now I'm gonna go one by one. Start with the top ring, put them in my cylinder, center them up with a piston, check the gap with my feeler gauge, and if it's within spec, we'll just run them. And if anything, they'll probably just file them a little bit, depending on what it needs. So let's see. Alright, so I got all my rings on my pistons. I got my new bearings out. I got the first piston compressed and ready to bang in. I got my fresh bearings. I gotta put this other one in. I'm using some assembly lube. The wind is going crazy right now. Like, this is, I don't know. But yeah, I'm getting it done. Alright, so here's where I'm at. I got my engine all timed. Got my tensioner back in. Tensioner is back in. Cams and everything is all torqued down. So I'm just spinning it over with this ratchet, making sure everything's good. Everything's all lubed. I got assembly lube on everything, so nothing's completely dry. Just going slow by hand until we get time to put it in the car and build oil pressure. But here we are. Here's what I got. I just got to put the oil pan back, or the lower pan back on. The window tray valve cover, and then we can start getting this in the car. Alright, so it's finally time to throw this intake manifold back on. I was gonna clean it up and do a bunch of shit to it, but I just want to get this thing running now. So throw the fresh gasket on, get this intake manifold on, throw on, oh, I think I gotta throw in some fuel. Alright, engine is mostly assembled enough to go back in the car, so I got my hoist, about to take it off the stand finally, and see how we're gonna get this in here. Well, let's get to it. Alright, so I got the trans, clutch, everything bolted back up, starters in, alternator, power steering pump, intake manifold. Everything's pretty much on the engine. So now it's time to put it in this way from the top, or this time from the top. So I'm just gonna put the camera somewhere and just see what happens. I'm gonna get it to go from the top, so we're gonna try going from the bottom this time. I'm gonna lift the car with the crane. Alright, engine's underneath the car. I'm gonna start lowering the car over the engine now. See what we got. Alright, engine is bolted into the car. Right now I'm working on some of the wiring. This is like the starter, like slash power harness. So I'm just cleaning this up. There's like some cut wires and randomness going on here. So I'm gonna re-lume this, tape it up, have that good. Then I also gotta work on the chassis harness to get that good. And maybe we can start cranking this and build oil pressure. What else? Alright, I don't remember when I updated last, but I got the chassis harness in the car now. Engine harness is here still. I need to start plugging things in, but now I'm just wrapping up on, I guess this is like the power harness. So this is like where it connects to the battery. The battery is located to the trunk, so this connects to that. This goes to the starter or the alternator. We're gonna find out just now. I think it's the alternator actually. What these and that, we'll see. But yeah, engine is in the car. I also actually used some proper bolts to hold this front, whatever this K-frame, subframe, whatever the hell it's called. The previous owner had it just like tack welded in. This time we got some nice 1/2-inch bolts that ain't going anywhere style. Alright, so here's where we're at. Everything is bolted up. I got the car to crank, but we got no fuel yet. So let's just see where I put the key. Whoa. Alright, so here's where I'm at with this project. Engine and everything is like bolted in for the most part, aside from like the cooling system. But I'm getting fuel, pressure, it's cranking, whatever. But for some reason I have no spark. Obviously something's not plugged in, something might not be grounded, but that's where I'm at right now. So, but now I want to just take down all this plastic. It's starting to drive me insane with this wind. And it's not that cold anymore. Alright, so after struggling this for a few days, my boy Keith came over here and I don't know what clicked in my brain. I switched the wires around and something happened. So I'm gonna stand here and film, and I'm gonna have Keith go in there and just crank the car real quick. Just shut it off real quick if anything happens. Hold on, give me a second.
Yeah.
Hold on. Alright, go ahead. Alright, stop. Alright, I'm gonna try to give it gas to see if we can get it to stay. Alright, go ahead, Keith. I saw her. Okay. Just hit it. Okay. Okay, so it needs some stuff. I think the timing is off. But it ran. Alright, so as you can see in that last clip, we got the car somewhat running. We finally got spark now. I was dealing with that issue for the past couple of days, but finally got that situated. So now what I'm working on is I need to raise this engine up so that I can tighten all the motor mounts and get this situated. Because right now this pulley is touching my frame rail. So I need to raise this up and get this sitting perfect. How do you clean your hands after wrenching on your car, you know? Be a man, use brake clean and shop towels. Yeah. Alright, now let's go celebrate our spark victory with slushies from 7-Eleven in a Subaru. Okay. Did you see his? Oh yeah, you went in there. Alright, so Keith pulled up in another car this time. What do we got here, Keith?
It's a Subaru.
Tell us about it. You missing something?
Yeah. No, it's alright. You know.
That's it? That's all you gotta say about this car?
Yeah. No, it's just a stock turbo full bolt-on Subaru. Yeah, 300 wheel. Give me a second. But yeah. It's a JP Fat Pillar Pod. I rushed him, so you know, I'd be rushing him.
Everybody be rushing me.
No, that's okay.
Keith claims I parked like a dick. Bless you, sir. Let's see.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah, 7-Eleven run, successful. Nah, man, it's not touching. Well, what's the problem?
Look at his dip parks, bro.
What's the problem?
You know, when we pull off, I'm gonna fall off the curb, and I'm gonna fucking
Nah, man, you gotta
grab the thing off.
tripod right here. Alright, hit it. Good. Fucking guy.
I'm a free.
Typical suit. So now that we know the engine kind of runs, it's time to finalize everything. Install the radiator, mount the fuel pressure regulator. So now I gotta try to drill a hole in my freshly painted bay. And yeah, Mr. Budman is here.
Word. Helper for today.
Yes, sir. All right, let's get it. Okay. So here's where we at. We got the radiator in. We got most of the wiring cleaned up for now. It's full of coolant, so now we're gonna try to start it and see if we could. I don't know. We're just gonna start it. Alright, so this is where I'm gonna end off for the night. Got it running, if you want to call it that. But you know, I mean, I confirmed my rebuild was, I don't know what the hell I confirmed today, but that's it for the day. I'm tired. There you go. Ender. Engine. Car. JP Fabrication. Out.